All right. Hello and welcome to the newest episode of the New Year's Six podcast. Today I'll be continuing my group of five conference preview videos. So far we've done the American, Conference USA, and the MAC. And today we head over to Mountain West for our newest video here. Um, if you haven't seen the videos before, what they look like in content, I'm just going to start from the bottom of the conference, work my way up to the top of the conference, and call out a team or call out a player on both sides of the ball that I think is due for a breakout season here. So in the Mountain West, little to no changes at all. The only change that we have going on is instead of 8 conference games being played this year, we're going to go to 7, and uh, that's to help integrate the schedule changes to Oregon State and Washington State, since they are more or less without a conference at this point. So all of these teams are going to play one of those two, and as a result, they lose a conference game, and that's where they're at with that. So with that, we'll kick off in last place, no divisions in Mountain West. So just going to start at 12th and work our way up to first. So in 12th place here, team with a new head coach, struggled last year, gonna struggle this year. Just has not come together, and I don't see it coming together anytime soon this year. But with that, in 12th place, I'm going to go with Nevada. So they bring in, I'm going to get the last name wrong probably here, Jeff Choate, Texas defensive coordinator, last year. So, good reference on that on that part. Um, Texas had a great defense last year, and made it to the college football playoffs. So there's that sense of winning. There's that sense of urgency with this team or with this coach now that I think it's going to take some time to build up, but it has the possibility of coming into fruition. Struggled last year. Need to make a change, need to make some changes to the roster, everything along those lines. And, took that first step with a new coach. And then, as you'll see, some new pieces to the roster here. So, bringing a couple guys here and there by position group. The O-line is going to be below average. You do have a couple starters with Isaiah World and Andrew Madrigal. So you got two out of 5 starters coming back. Not bad. Does give you some returning production to hang your hat on. The receiver room is weak. You don't have a whole lot of returning production in any capacity. You bring in Cortez Braham from West Virginia. You bring in Marcus Bellin from UTEP. But neither of those guys were big-time hitters at those places. These are guys looking for a new home and looking to make the most of it. I don't know what they're going to be, doing as a result of that. I do like Brandon Lewis at quarterback. I think he's going to be one of the better ones in this conference. I think he's going to be probably a top 5 quarterback when it's all said and done. So he should have another productive year, at Nevada here. And then Savion Red comes over from Texas to Nevada at running back. Pretty unproven guy, younger guy in that depth chart, but looking to make a splash for himself at Nevada this year. On the defense, D-line is going to be, one of the weaker ones in the conference in terms of pure returning production. You have Thomas Whitty. He's back there at, defensive tackle. You bring in Caden Johnson from Wisconsin, but the rest of this line is very inexperienced in their own right. And it's definitely something to be potentially concerned about if you're a Nevada fan. But the linebacker room is looking good. Drew Watts and then Tongiaki Matealona are that 1-2 punch. I think it's going to be one of the better rooms in this conference. So something to look forward to on the defensive side of the ball for Nevada. And then at the DB room, another room that I think is going to have some problems. You bring in Keaton Crawford from Texas. That's a solid addition. The big one is Keyshawn Cobb from West Virginia. That's a big get because I think he's going to hold down this room and be one of the better nickelbacks in the conference. But then outside of that, KK Meyer had a promising year last year, but I look around the room and I'm seeing that lack of depth and that lack of that lack of playing time, that lack of experience so far. I think it's going to hurt Nevada long term. But with that, let's go to our breakout player on offense. So we're going to bring in one of the transfer options coming from Florida, your tight end, Andrew Savai Nae. I'm going to say that's going to be as close as I can get to that. 3-star in the class of 2022, never made it up the depth chart. At Florida, just a special teams guy, bench guy, but presumed to be a starter or a contributor for Nevada on the offense this year. Could be a big get if it pans out. Could be an option that you really need at Nevada on offense this year. You need some sort of high level pass catcher or blocker, something along those lines, knowing how how shallow the team is in terms of experience. If you can get a guy that's on the younger side who's willing to step up and make a difference, then as a result of that, Nevada can have something of an offense going, even if it's one guy making it happen. So I'm going to go with the Savai Nae as the tight end of the future for Nevada, as someone who steps up this year and makes an impact for them and their team. On the defensive side of the ball, I'll go with Nelson Rapati. This is a community college transfer, so JUCO kid. Just hasn't. Hasn't seen the field yet outside of at JUCO level. But again, based on my logic of you can transfer from JUCO or a lower division and start at FBS, it's because you've earned it. I believe Rapati is expected to start. And as a result of that, I think he's going to earn that starting spot. He's going to be a junior. He's going to be someone that has some experience that comes back after this year. So using this year as a learning tool, knowing that he's surrounded by a lot of guys that are gone after this year. Looking at that D-line, it's a lot of seniors, but not a lot of seniors who have been super productive. So they may need someone younger than them, barking at them to step up. And if it's Rapati in the middle there, then that's the guy that Nevada needs on that D-line to create pressure and create scenarios where they don't have to rely on other parts of the defense to step up. If that front four can apply that pressure and make the most of this environment, and make the most of their scenarios, and get some 3 and outs to give the offense some chances, Nevada could shock some people. I don't think that's going to happen as a team. But if a big performance from a guy like Rapati comes in, comes out, then we could be seeing it. We'll be seeing Nevada in week 1 or week 0. Excuse me. They got SMU at home, so Nevada gets a preview video then for that game specifically. I don't know how many other games I'm going to catch for them this year, but we're starting off somewhere, right? So with that, I'm going to go to my 11th team. So it's Rapati for Nevada and Savai Nae for on offense for a Nevada team that's going to struggle this year. But on to 11th, it's going to be another team that struggled last year. I think that's kind of the trend with the group of 5. The teams at the bottom tend to stay at the bottom. The teams at the top tend to stay at the top. It's another team with a first-year head coach. I think this head coach has a lot of promise and can do some great things at New Mexico if given the opportunity. And we're going to see what he's able to accomplish in year 1 with the resources that he has brought in. So in 11th place, we're going to go with New Mexico. So the Bronco Mendenhall era has begun at New Mexico. Former job was at Virginia. Stepped down, couple years back at this point, hasn't held anything since. Mendenhall took Virginia to some pretty high highs. I believe he retired for health-related reasons. I can be wrong. I don't believe he was fired. I think he stepped down on his own accord. So if he's feeling up to it, he's feeling ready to go. New Mexico has a very good head coach. Again, looking at what he did at Virginia, a historically bottom feeder program in the ACC, and how he turned them into an Orange Bowl, performing team, that's a big ask. I don't think the goal at New Mexico is to play in the Orange Bowl. I think it's to have a 6-6 record and go to a bowl game. but I think he can do a lot more than that if given the time and resources. So really excited to see what New Mexico can accomplish under Mendenhall. I just don't think it's going to happen this year. So if we look at their depth chart, whole new O-line. Every single player came in through the portal. That's going to take some time. And I have some question marks about the experience that they brought in because it's a lot of guys from lower level programs that you can't scout a lot, without seeing tape on. Like, again, look at the, how much tape do you have on Grambling State or Texas A&M Commerce? I don't have it. If you want to send me some, do your thing. And the other guys are coming from UCLA, FAU, ECU, and with limited playing time at those programs as well. So how's it going to feel when they're put into the spotlight and put into a position where they need to succeed, sooner rather than later? Time will tell. But I have some issues with that up front. Receiver room is going to be below average. I like the tight end Trace Bruckler, but outside of that, I think Caleb Medford is a good guy for yards, but we got to see more than that for receiving core. Just to open it up a little bit, Devin Dampier is an average quarterback in the conference. Got to play as a true freshman and looks to be the presumed starter moving forward. He's one to watch out for this year. And then same with the running back, Andrew Henry. He's had his moments. He's going to be an, kind of run of the pack running back for New Mexico this year. On the defensive side of the ball, this is where I think the team gets better. All areas are going to be slightly below average in my eyes, but there's no glaring weakness, so to speak. If you look at the defensive line, again, that's all new players as well. I especially like the addition of Devin Brant Epps from Old Dominion. He's someone that can make an impact pretty instantly for New Mexico. The linebacker room, I think, is a smidge of a step back. Dimitri Johnson comes back and is one of your impact guys. But outside of that, it's a lot of younger players that haven't seen a ton of playing time at the moment. The secondary is going to be very similar to the D-line. You do have some guys back there I think you can play. Noah Vinger comes in from San Diego State, and he adds to a secondary that includes Tavian Combs, Christian Ellis, Derek Moore. So there's some guys back there that can play ball. It's just going to be a matter of can they continue to gain experience in their roles over the course of this season. So with that, on offense, I'll go with Baraka Beckett. So he comes in from UCLA, a three-star recruit in the class of 2018. Looking to make an impact for his team, looking to make a change of scenery and make the most of his last year of eligibility. Someone on this O-line needs to step up, especially on that blindside tackle spot. So I think Beckett is the guy. If he lives up to that three-star potential, and those guys are not coming to New Mexico in droves. So if Beckett can be that guy for New Mexico and for this O-line, New Mexico could be in business on the offensive line. Time will tell. Someone is going to have to step up because there's too many unknowns at the moment to determine how this is going to work. But I believe Beckett on that left-hand side will be the most likely candidate for New Mexico's offensive line. On the defense, we're going to go with Jaden Wilson. So your sophomore linebacker, played sparingly as a true freshman. 3-tackle performance against Tennessee Tech is the highlight. And I know it's Tennessee Tech, but again, you got to earn your stripes as an 18-year-old. Wilson did that, and I think is looking for more over the course of this year. I think he's looking to step into a larger role in a linebacker room that is looking for someone to step up. Knowing that Dimitri Johnson is gone at the end of this year, someone's going to need to step up into those shoes, and Wilson can be that guy from New Mexico. But he's got to, add bullet points to his resume over the course of this season before he takes on a larger leadership role over the course of other seasons. So I like Wilson to step up. He's shown it in smaller quantities as a true freshman and is ready to continue his growth and his development this season and beyond. So I look at Wilson on defense, Beckett on offense for a New Mexico team that is still going to be finding their footing over the course of this season and, but I think they got the personnel to do it long term. So now we move on to our 10th place team. This is a team that I think is going to take a pretty sizable step back this year. They were solid within their own right in the past, but with a new head coach. But this is a step backwards, knowing that there's some pieces up in the air that are going to need to have to be addressed and identified over the course of this year. So with that, in 10th place, I'm going to go with Wyoming. Jay Savell is the new head coach. Previous coach steps down due to health concerns or retirement. So fortunately, he's a guy who's been with the program before and knows the ins and outs of it. But from where we're at, Wyoming is taking a step back this year. It's when you lose your head coach somewhat unexpectedly, you have to hire from within. The expectation is going to be to take a step back, and I don't see that being something that Wyoming can be able to shake this year. So if we look at the depth chart real quick, all in-house from the starting perspective. The O-line is actually looking really good. If I have to give some flowers to this team, 4 out of 5 starters coming back. From the left side over, the only non-starter is going to be Jake Davies, who redshirted last year as a freshman. But the rest of this O-line, Caden Barnett, Wes King, No Fafia, Tulafono, and Jack Walsh are all guys who have significant playing time. I think it's the best offensive line in the conference. So if Wyoming is going to get out of this 10th spot prediction, it's going to be on the play of their offensive line. The receiver room is going to be below average. I like your tight end in John Michael Gillenborg, but outside of that, from a pure receiver perspective, I'm not seeing that top end talent so far. It's a room that needs depth, and it's a room that needs higher level performance as well. Same at quarterback. Evan Swoboda is your starter now. He's played very sparingly in the past. What is that going to look like for him when the lights are on him? And then the running back room is going to be on the better end, mainly Harrison Whaley. He's a top 5 running back in the conference. He's a near 1,000-yard guy. I know he wants to hit that mark before he graduates this year. So, there are some options. I mean, if it ends up being a run-first offense, that would make sense to me, knowing what the skill of this team is. But, we'll see what challenges they face on the offensive side of the ball and how a young quarterback and an inexperienced receiver adapt to set challenges. On the defensive side of the ball, I do think it ends up getting better. The game is won in the trenches, and the one thing Wyoming has going for them is that D-line is nice. Sebastian Harsh comes back. Jordan Bertagnoli and Devon Harris in particular, 3 out of 4 just very strong defensive linemen in a conference that may not have that same level of experience. That gives you the best D-line in the conference. It gives you the best O-line in the conference. So maybe Wyoming outpieces this 10th place expectation, and it's on the back of the performance in the trenches. If we look at the linebacker room, this one's going to be average to me. There are some promising people here. There are some promising pieces. Mainly Shea Suayanoa. Let me see if I can get that one right. He might be one of the best linebackers in the conference. He elevates this room to, a normal position. And if we look at the defensive backs, the secondary, they have quite a few notable names as well. Isaac White, Wyatt Eckler, Brooke Brown. So I think they're going to be serviceable in their respect as well. So Wyoming on the defensive side of the ball is looking to be about an average team in this conference. The offense might be a little bit below average. So maybe 10th is not particularly fair in your eyes. That's okay. You don't have to agree with all of these. And I'll talk at the end about what this could be versus what it is. But when it's all said and done, there are some pieces here that could elevate Wyoming to middle of the conference, if not higher. So on the offensive side of the ball, we'll go with Will Pellissier. So just a grad student wide receiver. They need someone to step up at that receiver spot. He did get a 34-yard touchdown catch against Nevada, and I know Nevada is not good, but again, you have to start somewhere. You have to put yourself in a place to succeed. 2-catch performance against UNLV, so he can get volume, he can get scores, he can get big plays. And again, those are in very small increments, but if given the chance to be the man for Wyoming, do I think he can do it? I'm going to say yes. Someone is going to have to step up for Wyoming. Why can't it be the most experienced guy in the room? Why can't it be the guy that's never transferred anywhere? This is the wild, wild west when it comes to the transfer portal. Pellissier has stayed loyal to Wyoming through multiple coaches now and has had multiple opportunities to go somewhere else, I imagine. And I'm sure he can be the guy for Wyoming on the offensive side of the ball this year. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we'll go to the secondary and we'll go Ian Bell. Again, a young kid, played sparingly as a true freshman. So we go from the oldest player on the team to the youngest player on the team, or the youngest starter on the team. 3-tackle performance against UNLV last year. I believe that constituted half of his tackles for the whole year. So, took it out against a good opponent, right? UNLV went the distance last year and had quite a good season under their belt. And then he's a 3-star recruit in the class of 2023. Those do not come easily to Wyoming. I don't care if he's a top 1,200 player instead of a top 400 player, right? A 3-star is a 3-star. And if you end up in the right spot and you end up making an impact immediately, it means that you have the ability to create that separation, create that those big plays in the secondary. So while we haven't seen a whole lot in pass defense and making big plays on that front, Bell's going to get his chances this year. I think he's going to be one of the reasons why this secondary can evolve past my average prediction for them. So I'm going to say Bell on defense and Pellissier on offense for a Wyoming team that I don't think it's going to do great. It's going to take some bumps and bruises over the course of a first-year head coach, but I'm sure they'll be right back in it sooner rather than later. Now on to number 9, a team with another new head coach. I'm sensing a trend here in Mountain West. No one can hang on to a coach. Now, this new head coach was a fairly recent appointment because their previous head coach was let go within the last probably 45 days. Now, I do these predictions in June and then kind of evolve them from there. The record predictions, standing predictions prior to a head coach being terminated. But with that in mind, who's to say they can't beat the Northwestern of this year, right? Who's to say they can't take it the distance in some capacity? So with that, in 9th place, kind of right in that average tier, right in that below average tier, I'll go with Utah State. So Nate Dreeling is their new head coach. He was the defensive coordinator at New Mexico State last year. Team had a decent year last year, again, right around the middle of the conference, made it to a bowl game. But, right now I have them on that outside looking in and, needing to do some damage control after everything that happened with their previous head coach. So with our depth chart here, offense actually looks pretty good. You return a lot of production on the offensive line. Everyone from left to right has some sort of starting experience in some capacity. Maybe it's not a full season, but it's at least half of your games, right? So I look at that as a big upgrade and opportunity for the offensive line. Cole Motes, Wyatt Bowles, Falipulu, Pule Alo, Tavo Apuaka, and then Teague Anderson. So all of those guys have experience in some capacity. The receiver room has a lot of experience, mainly Jalen Royals. That kid can play. He's a 1,000-yard guy. He's a 15-touchdown guy in the past. And as a result of that, he carries this Utah State offense, especially on that part of the ball. You bring in Jack Hestera from UNC Charlotte. That's a good get. So I am not worried about this team on the offensive side of the ball at receiver. At quarterback, you bring in Spencer Petras. I don't hate this. No, like you just have an experienced guy. I know he came from the worst offense in college football, but experience at quarterback goes such a long way, especially at the Group of Five level. So having that type of leadership. I mean, Petras, I believe, took them to their conference championship a few years ago. So if that's the case, if he can bring that type of experience, that type of leadership, the team will rally around him. And then at running back, Rasul Fasson, I think he's one of the better backs in the conference. I think he's also top five. I don't see a position group in this conference that's not in this team that's not top five in their conference. That's the way I'm looking at it. It's going to be an above average from top of offense, and it's probably going to be the way that Utah State wins games. On the defensive side of the ball, it does decrease a little bit, but not as bad as it could. I think it's a top five D line when it's all said and done. You add, Gabriel Iniguez from New Mexico State. Combine that with Blaine Spires, Seni Tuaki, and Cyan Sloan. Those four in particular are all playmakers in with their own right. I'm going to say it's a top five D line in the conference. Now, the linebacker room is where I start to have some issues. You do have Max Alford. That's someone that you can keep an eye on. But outside of him, the room is a little bit inexperienced, and it has question marks around it. So it can't be a one-man room working for the entire team. It's got to be a cycle and a system in place if Utah State expects to win. But the DB room makes up for it. It is a top 3, top 2 DB room in this conference, led by Ike Larson, who comes back as one of the best safeties in the conference. You've added Jordan Vincent, who comes in from New Mexico State, follows as defensive coordinator. You've added DJ Graham from Oklahoma. That's a big get. Jaden Francois, the nickel, comes back. This is one of the most talented defensive back rooms in the entire conference, and it's going to be hard to score on Utah State in the air. It's not a perfect team, but the tools and the resources are in place for drilling to succeed this year and to put himself in a position to be a Northwestern 2.0 type of experience. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, I'll go with Spencer Petras as your breakout player, right? Comes in from Iowa, didn't play at all last year, 3-star recruit in the class of 2018. Again, if you can just beat that field general, knowing that, there are better offensive weapons at receiver at Utah State than there are at Iowa, there could be some options for Petras to be, a better passer this year, to open up the playbook a little bit more. It's not run, punt, There are options and opportunities for him this year that he did not have at Iowa. It's kind of sad to say that, knowing that Iowa is a Power 4 program and Utah State is not. But I think Petras is going to benefit greatly from the change of scenery and putting himself in a position to succeed at a new school. So I think that Power 4 leadership and that conference championship appearance leadership is going to bleed into this Utah State team, and they're going to rally around him over the course this year. On the defensive side of the ball, I'll go John Ross May. He's also a transfer coming in from Lenoir-Rhyne, which is a Division II school. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the same school that Bill Belichick took a safety out of in the second round a couple years back. I think it was in the 2020 draft. So there's been some talent at the school. what's to say Utah State didn't just identify a new piece? What's to say that can't happen this time around? So I think May is going to be that next linebacker that Utah State needs to be successful. They need someone to step up around Max Alford. It just needs to be somebody. And I think May is that guy. Again, if you're coming from D2 and you start, it's because you've earned your spot. And I think May is the guy that that can earn that spot and can earn that respect on a Utah State team that's going to need someone to step up on the line in the linebacker room and in the defense in general. So I'm taking May at linebacker, Peters at quarterback for a Utah State team that is going to be, again, finding their identity this year with a brand new head coach. Now, if we head over to 8th place, a team that has had that identity rebuild time. Took quite a big jump last year, just not at that 500 mark. I think they're still going to be on the outside of that looking in. It's just not going to be it'll be an average year for them. It was an average year for them last year, but it'll be an average year for them this year again. But the overall attitude around the program should be shifting for the future. So that will be Hawaii in 8th place. Timmy Chang is back, really building this program up from basically nothing. He inherited a bad Hawaii team, but for where we are at, it's on the right path. It's just going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit longer, Hawaii fans. Your time is coming, though. I promise you. It's just not going to be this year. You have a fun offense to watch. You have a talented team in certain areas, and then from there, we'll take a look at some other pieces of this team over the course of the review here. So, on the offensive side of the ball, so no transfer portal at Hawaii looks like, or at least it's an outdated depth chart. Let's just take a look at some of these pieces and see where we're looking for success for Hawaii. It's the best receiver room in the conference, and that would make sense when you run a run and shoot offense, right? Fun and gun type deal. You have Stephen McBride and Pofeli Ashlock. Both of them are 9 touchdown guys in the past. I'm sure they want to hit the double-digit mark this year. That alone would put them near the top. And then you add Alex Perry and Kawali Nishigawa, and you have some pieces to cook with this year. Offensive line is going to be below average. You got 2 starters coming back in Kayana DeCambra, as well as Sergio Muasa. Not going to be a detriment, just not going to be a super actually, that's not true. You got 3. You got Luca Felix Fualalo as well. So 3 out of 5 is a good place to start. That puts you kind of right in the middle of the conference, right? So just going to take some of those younger guys, specifically the guards, to step up into their role and make most of their starting opportunity. Quarterback, you're set. Braden Shager is legit. The number 1 quarterback in the conference, in my opinion. He's a 3,500-yard guy, 26 touchdown guy, everything along those lines. And then running back is your only real weakness, one of the weaker position groups in the conference. You're led by Landon Sims, who just does not have a ton of starting experience under his belt. On the defensive side of the ball, D-line is also a question mark here. You got Elijah Robinson and Ezra Ivamalo, but outside of that, you don't have a ton of returning production, outside of those 2. Definitely want to see more as the season progresses, but as we've seen so far, Hawaii does not have the best team in the trenches to handle this rest of the season, but they do have the linebackers. They have Logan Taylor and Jalen Smith. This is a 1-2 punch. Taylor in particular might be one of the better, if not best, linebackers in the conference. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I think, those field generals out there are going to be people you have to watch if you are an opposing offense. And then the secondary will be average, probably right in the mean there. Peter Manuma, was one of those bright spots, specifically at safety. You had Mekhi Pay, you had Verdell Edwards II. Even that was one of your corners, but Elijah Palmer and Cam Stone in the mix. And you've got a serviceable group with a lot of talented, experienced individuals. So, I think Hawaii will be fine at the secondary. They'll be fine on the linebacker. It's just going to be the D-line that wears this team down. It may be the thing that costs them a bowl game long term. So on the offensive side of the ball, we'll go again with Landon Sims. Did have a rushing touchdown against San Diego State last year. 65 yards against Nevada. So the way that I look at that is if you can do it against one opponent, you can do it against all opponents. If you have 65 against Nevada, you can have 65 against Boise, you can have 65 against Air Force, you can have 65 against San Jose State. Same thing with a touchdown. If you can get it against San Diego State, you can get it against Utah State or UNLV or anyone that they're going to play on their schedule this year, or Washington State or Oregon State, whoever they got. I think Sims is going to be the feature back in an offense that doesn't often feature backs. They are accessories, not necessities, historically with Hawaii. Being such a heavy passing offense, going back 15, 20 years now. But you got to have some sort of form of running game if you are going to catch team off guard. Otherwise, I'm just going to put six guys in the secondary. Just run 3-man deep every single time, right? Run prevent defense. That's how you stop Hawaii, right? But if you can establish a run game, you've got to keep defenses honest. So Sims is going to have that opportunity for Hawaii this year. For a Hawaii team that is looking to establish a run game on top of a great quarterback and a great receiver room, they need a running back to step up, and Sims is that guy. On the defensive side of the ball, I'll go to the O-line, or I'll go to the D-line. Kuau Pehopa, so 3-star recruit in the class of 2021, just has not found the field yet. Maybe special teams or bench guy, but I think he's going to get his playing time this year. I think he's going to get his chances and opportunities. Again, junior, so has been around the program a while, transferred in at least some point in the last couple of years, but is ready for that that step up for a D line that needs someone to step up. Whatever's working in the past hasn't worked so far. So they need someone to establish themselves early on in this season as the future and the present of this defensive line. I think they're going to put him right in the middle and just say, go to war with the center, go to war with the guards. I think he can do it if he's out there. So I think Pehopa is going to be your guy on a defense combined with Sims on offense for a Hawaii team that is trending in the correct direction, is just not going to get there this year. So that's where we're at with Hawaii. As we move on to 7th place, this is a team that, again, had a real good year last year. Good enough to say conference championship appearance good. So when you look at what was accomplished, we look at what was accomplished over the course of last year and everything that was done on this program, I do think that unfortunately they are going to take a step back. I don't think they're going to be able to replicate the momentum swing of last year with a fresh head coach. I do think they end up kind of back down to earth, and that ends up being UNLV. So Mariota went in and just had this program on a rocket ship. I think they had a lot of they had a lot of seniority on that team. They had a lot of people in places on that team. I anticipate the program taking a bit of a step back. The schedule is a lot harder this year for them, but they have the players in place. I'm just looking at it now, and it's the personnel is there. It's just going to be, can they match up well against other teams in the conference? I think the schedule just shakes out where you have a talented team on the wrong end of a scheduling dynamic that hurts the program this year. So look at the offense. Honestly, if you look at the offense and the defense, from a pure returning production standpoint, they're top 3 in everything. You're number 2 on the offensive line with 2 starters coming back with Jack Haas and Tiger Shanks, and then Jalen St. John has played a good chunk as well. So there's a lot of returning starts on the offensive line. There's a lot of returning production at receiver, mainly Ricky White, who's a 1,400-yard guy, 8-touchdown guy in the past. That's that's something to keep your eye on if you are a San Diego or if you are a UNLV fan. You bring in Matthew Sluka from Holy Cross. He's got a ton of experience at that level. I think he could end up as one of the better quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the conference based on what he did at Holy Cross. And then at running back, you have Jaden Thomas, who is a true freshman, rushed for 12 touchdowns, right? Like the offense cooked last year. And I anticipate them to continue to cook moving forward. Same on the defensive side of the ball. The defensive line, will start with them. I think this is top two. You bring in Antonio Doyle from Jackson State. You pair him with Tua Martinson, Jalen Dixon, Cooper Webb. So you got some weapons back there for sure, or up there for sure. It's going to be a matter of just keeping the ability to apply that pressure play after play after play. Linebacker room is going to be able to do it. That's the best one in the conference. Jackson Woodard and Marcel McDuffie are a 1-2 punch that, they could play at the Power 4 level if they wanted to, honestly speaking. It's definitely going to be exciting to see if you are UNLV. And then the defensive backs, Jonathan Baldwin at safety combined with Jalen Catalon, who comes in from Texas. You bring in Tony Grimes from Texas A&M. That's a big get. And then Cameron Oliver, Jet Elad, everything along those lines. It should, on paper, this is a very, very good UNLV team. I just, I'm nervous about their schedule. I'm nervous about the way that everything shakes out. I don't remember who they have at the Power 4 level. I don't think it's Michigan, but it's someone that could, lead to a momentum blow early in the season. I think they have a lot of their coin flip games on the road. Like, I don't have the exact schedule because I don't do game-by-game predictions for you all. I do it when I make these out. But I think UNLV is just on the wrong side of the schedule, and someone has to be when it comes to this conference. So on the offensive side of the ball, our breakout player is going to be Corey Thompson. So as a true freshman, had 3 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown against San Jose State. He had 4 catches on the year, 3 of them in that one game. He had 55 yards on the year, 50 of them in that one game and 1 touchdown. So somewhere else, you got a 5-yard catch. I thought we could keep that off. So again, if you did that as a true freshman against San Jose State, you can do it against San Diego State. You can do it against Colorado State. You can do it against Fresno State. You can do it against all the states, Boise State, all of them. And I think he'll get the chance to do it this year for UNLV. I think he'll be one of the feature receivers and someone that Sloop can have the opportunity to connect with early on in the season, see what that looks like for UNLV, right? So I think Thompson can be the guy. He's been around the program now this is year 2, and I'm sure wants an opportunity to get more playing time, more opportunities, and more catches and more touchdowns. So Thompson is hungry enough, and the opportunities present themselves, and he takes them. UNLV is going to have another great receiver on their hands. On the defensive side of the ball, I went with Cooper Webb. So Cooper Webb picked up a couple sacks last year, one against Wyoming, one against Colorado State, and then a 5-tackle performance against Air Force. Again, if you can do it against Wyoming, you can do it against Colorado State, you can do it against all of the states, Fresno, Boise, San Jose, San Diego, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So from there, again, if you got 5 tackles against Air Force, you can do 5 tackles against Hawaii, you can do 5 tackles against New Mexico or Wyoming. If you can do it once, you can do it always. So Webb showed us in a limited playing time last year that he can make that immediate impact in the middle of the field or in the middle of the D line, and he's going to make more of an impact this upcoming year with more playing time, more experience, and more opportunities to lead a UNLV team on defense that I think has the pieces to go back to their conference championship. It's just I don't think it's in the cards. We see how this conference can be, how up and down it can be for everyone involved, and I think UNLV is just going to catch a bad break at some point. So Webb on defense and Thompson on offense. So now we head to the top part of the conference, a team that ended up around this spot last year. I do think they're going to take a step in the correct direction. I think they have the right coach for it. They have the right pieces in place for it. And on paper, they could be a dark horse for this team, for this conference long term. So in 6th place, I'm going to go with Colorado State. So Jay Norvell is back for year 3. Made some strides at this program, turned him into a 5-win program. I anticipate that they end up in a better spot this year. 8th last year, I got them in 6th this year. So I expect them to continue to trend upwards and to be someone that, I mean, they took Colorado to the brink last year, right? They got to play them again this year. So let's see what that looks like. That was a fun one. So 5-17 last year, but with that air raid offense, anything is possible over in Fort Collins. So if we look at the depth chart for this team this year, O-line will be okay. Savion Henderson is back, Jacob Gardner's back, Drew Moss is back. So those are some players you got to keep your name tied to. Those are your kind of seniority player, and they're all seniors. Those are your seniors stepping up to the plate for an offensive line that needs someone to protect their quarterback. Their quarterback had mentioned Braden Fowler and Nicolosi. One of the better ones in the conference. I put him top 5. So, in an air raid offense, he'll just continue to grow and to continue to develop, especially knowing that he is a redshirt sophomore and has a lot of eligibility left. So, I'm curious to see how that looks for Colorado State this year as well as beyond. We've got Justin Marshall, who played redshirted last year, so played sparingly at running back. He's your starter this year. What's he going to do with a full year of opportunities under his belt? What's he going to do playing more than 4 games? Everything along those lines for Colorado State this year. And then you have a good receiver room, namely Torrey Horton. He's a 1,000-yard guy. He's an 8-touchdown guy. So he's one to watch out for. You add Donovan Ollie from Cincinnati. That's a name to look at. Combine that with Dylan Goffney. So you have people in place to succeed on the offensive side of the ball. And knowing Jay Norvell, that is going to be his specialty. Defense might actually be a step up. So the defensive line is going to be top 5 in the conference, mainly due to Newer Gattuoth. He's one of the best D linemen that we have in Mountain West, and someone that you should be excited to watch if you are a Colorado State fan. On the linebacker room, this is going to be a top 3 room, mainly because of Chase Wilson. Following that trend, one of the best linebackers, someone you should be excited to watch if you were a Colorado State fan. Elevates that room to better than maybe what they should be. If you look at the defensive backs in the secondary, top 3 room of the conference. And I'm going to say it again, because of Jack Howell, someone who elevates this room is going to be one of the best individual playmakers in the Mountain West. You combine that with Henry Blackburn. You combine that with Aiden Hector and Isaiah Esasima. Esasima coming in from Nevada, and ready to make an impact here. So Colorado State has the pieces not just to be 6th, but to be above 6th. That's where this is at. Again, it's just going to be, can they get around their schedule? Can they outwork, individuals over the course of the season to make the most of it? I think they're trending in the correct direction, and they could be one of the better programs in this conference over the next few years. So on the offensive side of the ball, our breakout player is going to be Justin Marshall. We get some video footage. Great. So look at this game against San Diego State, 119 yards rushing and then a touchdown. And then as a pass catcher, 23 yards receiving against Nevada. So let's see what this video looks like against San Diego State. This is some of his running. I think he just punches it in, right? So, just, a will not say die type of run. Gets in on his back. Kind of hard to see right now. Well, it was a quick clip. So gets it at the 5. And I mean, again, will not go down, has to make the most of his opportunity. So Marshall has his chances this year. Marshall's going to be the full-time starter. That touchdown was the reward for the other 114 yards he got over the course of the day. So I look at Marshall as, an asset and a necessity for an offense that is so high-powered and up-tempo but may ignore the run at times. I think if you got a guy like Marshall back there, just pounding his legs, doing what he needs to do to score and get big yards, you got to include it in your playbook long term. So I think Marshall can be that guy. And knowing that he's so young, uses this year to establish himself as the running back of the future for Colorado State. And then on defense, we go with Mukendi Wakalonji. So this is a defensive end. Picked up a sack against Colorado, and kind of like that one because it's not just a Power 4 team, but their O-line is Swiss cheese. So he made the most of it in an intense rivalry game. 3 tackle performance against UNLV. So again, if you can get 3 tackles against UNLV, you can get them against the whole state of Nevada. You can get them against Boise State, Arizona State, Hawaii. Anyone that comes up on the schedule for Colorado State this year. You can do it once, you can do it forever, right? It can't be a fluke. So I think Wakalonji is going to have his opportunities on the defensive line, knowing that there's already enough pressure on certain equalizers. There's already going to be enough on Gakuov. There's going to be enough on James Mitchell. There's going to be enough on Cam Barreto. So Wakalonji is going to be the guy that he's one of the juniors out there. So one of the guys that is looking to establish himself not just this year, but again beyond. So I think a big year cements himself on this team for the future, and makes him one of the premier DNs in the conference when it is all said and done, if those opportunities are realized. So I'm looking at Wakalonji on defense and Marshall on offense for a Colorado State team that, again, is trending in the correct direction, is ready to make some moves this year, has the right coach to do it, has the right personnel in place to make that happen as well. So now we head over to 5th place, and we get a new head coach. Again, the trend of Mountain West, right? So new head coach, promising year last year, right? Not in the conference championship game, but in contention for it. Lost out because of like a tiebreaker or something like that. And as far as I'm concerned, still trending in the correct direction. Just new coach, so maybe they take a smidge of a step back. So with that, I'm going to take 5th place is San Jose State for me. So Brett Brennan is gone. He's over at Arizona. New head coach is Ken Nui Matalolo. I didn't put it in here, but he was the UCLA tight ends coach last year, and now he's ready to coach at San Jose State. Before that, he was a head coach at Navy. So it's interesting to see the different types of offense that he's going to run compared to the triple option that they've run over at Annapolis, and what they're going to run at San Jose State. It's probably going to look a lot different, right? So from there, what does that look like for this team this year? I think record-wise, they probably improve. Look at that. They lost what? They were 1-4 outside the conference. That probably has to change. But otherwise, it's still going to be a competitive, spirited San Jose State team, just with a new head coach that is going to be figuring out what the vibe is in San Jose compared to what it's been at UCLA or what it's been at Annapolis. So looking at the roster, the offensive line does not have a lot of returning production. The only starter you got coming back is Marist Talabo. So there's going to be a demand for someone to step up there, just because right now the returning production puts this offensive line towards the bottom of the conference. Receiver room will be top 5, mainly due to Nick Nash. He's someone that has been loyal to San Jose State for quite some time. You bring in Trayshawn Hurry from Weber State. You still have Justin Lockhart back there. He's a 500-yard guy. So what does their new head coach do with a receiver room that can deliver for San Jose State, can take some of these teams the distance, right? Didn't San Jose State kind of score big on USC? And I know USC let everyone score on them, but there should be a talent difference for San Jose State there. Emmett Brown's your new quarterback. He comes in from Washington State. I think we'll see. Again, very rarely played over there at Washington State. What type of opportunity does he get this year, and how does he make the most of it? And then you have Floyd Chalk at the running back now for Grambling State. He's a 9-touchdown guy. He's about a 700-yard guy. So from that perspective, he's ready to make that jump to the FBS level and make an impact on this program as well as others that face him. Right. Defensive side of the ball, it's less top heavy. It's a lot more towards the middle and the bottom. D-line is going to be below average because outside of Soani Toia, you do not have a lot of returning production. So how is that going to fit for San Jose State this year? Linebacker room, more towards the mean. I like Jordan Pollard, Jordan Cobbs, as well as Tanila Latu. So you got 3 strong linebackers in that room to elevate them to at least the middle of the conference. And then the DB room is going to be below average because outside of Robert Rahimi, who comes in Liberty, and maybe DJ Harvey coming back, it's a lot of young guys back there. So there's definitely some question marks on San Jose State. I think they have the right coach for the job. Nua Matalolo routinely elevated Navy to levels that they should not have been at. He had them ranked at some point a couple years back. So he's done a lot more with a lot less. And for San Jose State, I don't think it's a talent problem. I think it's a production problem, what we've seen so far. So we are going to see more of this team over the course of this year. So those young guys are going to get that experience and live up to those expectations. So on offense, our breakout player will be Nate Hale. So we're going back to the offensive line. Hale is a 3-star recruit in the class of 2023, redshirted last year, looking to step up. Someone on the O-line needs to step up, whether it's in the middle there with guards and centers, or if it's on the right-hand side of the tackle. Hale's going to be the youngest kid out there on the offensive line, and I'm sure wants to show his coach and his team that it's not a mistake and it's not a fluke, right? So redshirted last year, ready to make a difference this year, ready to be that starter for San Jose State that needs an offensive lineman to rise to the occasion and protect their new quarterback. He doesn't have a lot of experience under his belt either, and giving trust in your O-line is going to go a long way with figuring out this team's identity this year and beyond. On the defensive side of the ball, we're going to go with Xavier Reese. So 2-tackle performance against UNLV. He's a 3-star recruit in the class of 2020. Has not transferred anywhere. Has been loyal to San Jose State the whole time, which we love to see in the transfer portal Wild West era. Again, a 2-tackle performance at UNLV is a good start. If you've done it against UNLV, you could do it against Air Force. You could do it against San Diego State. So if we're looking for that consistency, we're looking for that performance week in and week out. Reese, if given the opportunities, given the chances, showing that he can do it. Can is the key word. Will he do it? That is the other key word. Can and will in this situation. But I think Reese can. Will he? My prediction is yes. So I'm taking Reese on defense. I'm taking Hale on offense for a San Jose State team that is still going to be right in the thick of it for Mountain West and beyond, but probably more towards the middle of the pack than they are towards the top of it. So as we head into 4th place, we get a change of pace. We go from coaches that are there for their first year to now a coach that has been there forever. And that experience is going to take this team a very, very long way, knowing how much of this team is new or inexperienced and is ready to make the jump towards the top of the conference. So in 4th place, we'll go with the Air Force Academy. So Troy Calhoun has been there for 18 years. There are students at the Air Force Academy right now, some incoming freshmen, that have not known a world without Troy Calhoun as the head coach. So, I mean, it's a great career to think about. Came in 4th last year. I expect 4th this year, right around that same mark. I think it's just more so the challenges that Air Force faces being a service academy and the difficulties that come with that. The size of your offensive line, you can't have any of those. I think of Desmond Watson at Florida, who's over 400 pounds. Like, he can't play for Air Force, right? Like, he's got to do cardio. He's got to do basic training. So you can't get those big boys on the line in the trenches. You got to work with what you got. All skill position players don't want to run triple option or pro style. Air Force is a little bit different. They do pass the ball with, where they say Army or Navy, but it's like, if you're a 4-star, 5-star guy, like, you want to go to the biggest programs in the biggest states. You don't want to, you don't want to play John Heisman type of, football there. You want to play something a little bit more modern. I think Air Force is has their twist on it, but Calhoun is the experience and the North Star that Air Force needs to be successful this year, knowing that they don't have a lot of returning production at more than a few positions. So obviously you're not going to use the transfer portal. If you're Air Force, you've got to get everyone the old natural way. But when it comes to returning production, no starters coming back from the offensive line. You have Michael Mechanic, who's played pretty sparingly, and Jackson Cohal has had his times, but the rest of these guys are predominantly bench warmers that are stepping up to the plate. Receiver room, obviously not going to be a priority for Air Force. You have Jared Rosnos, who I think has some potential. It can be that leader that senior leader, but the rest of these guys have next to no experience just because they don't throw the ball that often. You have a brand new quarterback for the most part in John Busha. So he's a guy that's barely thrown the ball. He has 9 completed passes, I believe, in his collegiate career. So he's going to need to step up, and he's going to need to be the leader for Air Force. Now, he is a junior, so he's coming back next year. So again, that offers some solace to Air Force long term. And then your running back room is fairly unproven in its own right. It's going to be slightly below average. You have Dylan Carson at the fullback. He's your scoring guy. Aiden Calvert hasn't played a whole lot at running back. So, the experience is not there for this team, but the coaching is. Same on defense. Each position group on this defense is bottom 2 in returning production. You have more or less no returning production on the defense. The linebacker room has Camby Goff coming back. That's about it. Make an argument for Zach Jumbo. I'll entertain that. But the rest of these guys are very inexperienced. The secondary, you have Jerome Gallard and Jamari Belamy, and that's about it for returning production. So you have about 4 or 5 guys that have played significant snaps for this Air Force defense, and the rest of them are going to be fish out of water at times. But if you have the right coach and you have the right direction set, then as far as we are concerned, Air Force will be in a good place. So on the offensive side of the ball, I'll go with the O-line. I'll go with Trevor Tate. Someone's going to have to step up on the O-line. Now, see, this is where that size difference comes into place. Like, that does not look like the face of an offensive line. That is not a big, burly, 350-pound man. But at Air Force, it is, right? I don't have his stats in front of me, but that's not a 300-pound face, trust me. So it's going to take that intense cardio, that strength and conditioning that Tate may have access to that other programs don't utilize, right? He may be quicker as a result. He may be more willing to chop block more as a result. All that's going to go a long way, but someone on this O-line is going to need to step up, and I think Tate is the least experienced offensive lineman, therefore has the most to show and the most to contribute. So I'm taking Tate on your offensive line for Air Force. And then on defense, I'm going to go with Jack Curtis. So 2 tackle performance against San Diego State last year. And then, the interesting spot is he's a 3-star recruit in the class of 2022. Those do not go to Air Force particularly often, right? And again, I don't care if you're a 3-star, I don't care if you're a top 1,200 or a top 400 player. 3-star is a 3-star at that point, and the best programs mold theirs the best. So if Curtis is that diamond in the rough, as a junior, someone ready to step up and accelerate for Air Force, it's going to go a long way with building that team up because it's all juniors right now. So someone needs to, someone in that class needs to make this happen. I think it's Curtis, being that, that 3-star ready to make a difference. So I'm taking Curtis on defense. I'm taking Tate on offense. We're an Air Force team that, while inexperienced, has the right leader in their head coach to gain experience quickly and get right back into the playoff mix, but in the right back into the conference championship mix. So now this does take us to our top 3. So when I reveal my third team, it will be it also tell us who the conference championship is. So third team is going to be a team that makes a pretty substantial jump this year. It's going to be a team that struggled pretty heavily last year, has a first-year head coach that can make an impact on this team. A lot of new faces in the via the transfer portal. It's going to be an offense-first team, but they're just going to be on the outside looking in, and that would be San Diego State. So I got San Diego State in third place. That leaves a conference championship of Boise State versus Fresno State down in Allegiant. I think it is, right? Or is it home? I don't know. It might be a home game. So San Diego State, third place. Sean Lewis comes over from Colorado as their offensive coordinator. He is now the head coach at San Diego State. I think this is a great hire. I think he's going to be someone that turns his program around very quickly, given the circumstances surrounding it. They're going to mix up the offense. They're going to mix up the defense a little bit. And I got a lot more faith in the offense right now, just based on who's been brought in as well as who they're being coached by. So, as you can see, gold everywhere. Gold means someone new. And working at this offense, that's going to be that's going to be the case for anyone with a new head coach for the most part. So, O-line is has a lot of production and brought in a lot of good starters, right? So they had Braden Bryant comes in from North Dakota. He's ready to make an impact. You have Nate Williams coming in. He comes in from Akron. So from where I'm sitting, there's more than a few impact, precise players that San Diego State has on the offensive line. I think it ends up being a top 3 line when we're all said and done. Receiver room not far off. I think that ends up being a top 5 room. You bring in Nate Bennett from Portland State. You add from West Virginia Deshaun Pope. You've got some. It's a very deep team at receiver. It's not a top-heavy team. Like even Nate Bennett is not like miles ahead of everyone else. Nate Bennett comes in from Portland State, by the way. So it's not like miles ahead of everyone. But I think San Diego State is in a position where their O-line is good enough to take them far, and their receivers are good enough to take them far. Keenan Christian comes back at running back. He's played sparingly. I know he wants to get more reps this year as a senior. And then your new quarterback at San Diego State is A.J. Duffy coming in from Florida State. He has played sparingly over the course of the last 2 seasons. Now on defense, I do think this is where you'll see a little bit of a decline. On the D line, you bring in Marlon Lewis from Richmond. That's a name to look out for. I think he's going to be one of the better D linemen in the conference. You have Tupu Alualu, who comes back. He's an impact player in his own right. But outside of that, you got a lot of younger guys that haven't played a ton. Linebacker room is transfer, just guys who have not played a lot in their own right. Owen Chambliss comes in from Utah. Teno Letuli comes in from Army. Just guys that did not get a ton of experience at their previous schools. And then the DB room is going to be below average experience as well. You do bring in Deletion Staley from Northern Iowa. That's your impact guy pretty instantly. Bryce Phillips comes in from Tennessee State. So you bring in these FCS guys that did well at that level, and are now ready to do well at that group of 5 level. So those two in particular, throw Chris Johnson in the mix at cornerback. That's one to watch as well. But it's going to be an offense first team at San Diego State, and that would make sense, knowing who their head coach is. So on the offensive side of the ball, we'll go with A.J. Duffy breaking out. So 4-star recruit in class of 2022 comes in from Florida State. Their third string through last year, Jordan Travis, Tate Rodmaker, and then A.J. Duffy. So played sparingly because then Jordan Travis went down, and then I believe Rodmaker went down against either Florida or Louisville. So A.J. Duffy played very, very, sparingly during his time at Florida State, but now gets a starting opportunity at San Diego State. And you know how I've been saying, in this video and others that, I don't care if you're, top 1,200 or a top 400 when it comes to being a 3-star. Well, how many 4-stars make it to San Diego State? That is a few and far between experience. I think A.J. Duffy, if he's able to play in some capacity at Florida State, he can thrive at San Diego State with a head coach that can help mold him as a quarterback with a couple years of eligibility left. This is the A.J. Duffy coming out party for the 2024 season. I think A.J. Duffy has the tools to succeed and to develop at this level. It's just going to be a matter of utilizing that experience, that opportunity. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to stick with our transfers here. So a 3-star in the class of 2023, that would be Owen Chambliss, comes in from Utah. Same deal as Duffy, just a guy who has not played a whole lot at their Power 4 program and is ready for a fresh start somewhere else. This is a younger kid, redshirt freshman, and again, someone who's ready to make an impact somewhere on the field. Has not gotten that opportunity in Salt Lake City, so now he heads to San Diego at a lower conference with the expectation to play and to evolve and to continue his development as a football player. I think he can. I think, there's an eye for talent up there at Utah and making the most out of these kids that don't get big-time offers. So if Willingham saw him for what he is and said, you can come play at us, he can go play at San Diego State. And he can be a weapon for them over the course of this season. Interested to see how he develops and what he does over the course of this season and the impact that he has on the linebacker room that is waiting for someone to step up. So I'm taking Chambliss and I'm taking Duffy for a San Diego State team that is, at least in my eyes, ready for a pretty big turnaround and is ready to set the precedence of what they want to be long term. So that wraps them up. I am going to head to what I have as my second place team. Doesn't matter the order from a conference championship perspective, but we'll go with Fresno State in second. So Jeff Tedford is there, year 3. Took a step back last year, but I think they are ready to establish themselves back in their conference championship and put things where they need to be for the Fresno State standard, right? 6th place is unacceptable for them. 9 and 4 is going to be unacceptable for them. So I think they're going to turn it around pretty quickly. They'll get back into double-digit wins, everything along those lines. So we look at the depth chart. Very balanced team across the board. Everything is average. Couple of above average position. There's one below average position that I'll get to from a returning production standpoint. O-line, you got 3 guys coming back: Braylon Nelson, Mose Vavayo, and then Oscar Velez. So that's pretty key from a returning production standpoint to have 3 guys on the O-line come together like that. At receiver, this is a top 5 group. You got Jalen Moss up there. That's a big that's a big guy up there. Combine that with Magdalena. So you have these opportunities. You have these players that are ready to make moves at the receiver position. Combine that with Mikey Keene coming back at quarterback. He's the top 3 quarterback in the conference. And then you have a top 3 running back in Malik Sherrod. The offense is going to be fine. The offense across the board, everything is at minimum average, at most top 3. So the way I'm looking at it, Fresno State's going to be able to beat their opponents just about any way offensively. Defense is kind of similar. I think it's a little bit of a step back. D-line will be average. You got Devo Bridges, who's one of the better defensive ends in the conference. And then really outside of that, I don't like it's a lot of unknown, so to speak. Jacob Holmes has had his moments. Corey Foreman comes in from USC. That could be an intriguing pickup as well. The linebacker room will be below average. It's Malachi Langley and then other. Malachi Langley is a beast. I'll give him his credit. But Malachi Langley can't be that room by himself. What is it going to look like for this room over the course of the entire season? And then the DB room is going to be top 5, right? So you have Dean Clark there as one of the best safeties in the conference. And then he really lifts them all up, though. Cameron Braca, Alzillian Hamilton, Justin Houston. So there are some players back there that can make a difference for this team, that can make a name for themselves. But it's really on the backs of Dean Clark in particular for this potential top 5 secondary. So for a breakout player on the offense, we'll go with Julian Polendo. That's going to be on your offensive line. 3-star recruit in class of 2020. Been predominantly a rotational guy. He's seen action in just about every game at this point, but has not established himself as that starter. This is his year. He's a redshirt senior. This is it for him. Polendo is going, for my calculations, to be the starter at right guard. He's going to be the impact player that Fresno State needs. The offensive line as a whole is not bad to begin with, so having just another option back there to take that pressure off of Keene, to take 1 or 2 rushers at the same time. If Polendo can step up from his rotational role to an established starting role, Fresno State is going to cook on every part of this offense. The skill position, the line, the quarterback, everything. So Polendo might be the missing key for a Fresno State team that needs someone on the line to be a lead if they want to win this conference and potentially, again, get a playoff spot. That's going to be up for grabs as well. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with Julian Neal. So this is a guy who's played a little bit in his right. Did end up with a pass defended against New Mexico State, a 2-tackle forward against San Diego State. Again, if you could do it against New Mexico State, you can do it against San Diego State, you can do it against San Jose State, Utah State, Boise State, all the states out there, right? So he's gotten back into the passing game or pass defense. That's what we want to see. Can come up and get the tackles if needed. We want to see that. So from that perspective and that understanding, it does make Neal a very capable individual to have a big year on defense. Knowing that the secondary is a strong suit and knowing that the linebackers may need him to step down and assist with them, Neal can be that guy to kind of be that hybrid back if needed. I have the faith in him to get that done. I have the belief that he's going to get it done. Just going to be a matter of what that execution looks like for a Fresno State team that I think is going to end up back in the conference championship after a little bit away. So Neal on defense and Polendo on offense for a Fresno State team that is ready to take that next step as a team. So now we head over to number 1, which is Boise State. Spencer Danielson took over halfway through last year and got Boise State conference championship. So he got the interim tag removed. He is full-time now, and there are some things to be excited about in Boise. So it started off very poorly last year, but I think with the West Coast offense that Danielson picks up, the returning production in quite a few position groups, Boise State is going to be one of the better teams in this conference, if not the group of 5 as a whole. So if we look at the depth chart here, lots of starts coming back on the offensive line. Cage Casey, your left tackle, just moving left to right. Cage Casey, Ben Dooley, Mason Randolph, and Roger Carrion. 4 in particular have substantial starts. And now they're going to get even more substantial starts over the course of the season. You have an O-line, as far as I'm concerned, that is top 3 in your conference. So big get for a Boise State team that is going to need to stay consistent on offense to beat everyone over the course of this season. Your receiver room is going to be top 5. It's a deep room. I'll give you credit there. Latrell Capples. I like Matt Lauder at tight end. You bring in Cameron Camper at Indiana. You had Prince Strachan played well as a true freshman. So it's there's no like star receiver on this team, but there's a lot of impact receivers on this team. And at a certain point, that may be a benefit for Boise State, where you're not going to get double coverages per se. You're going to get options, and it's up to Boise State to make the most of it. Who are they going to make the most of it with? Is Malachi Nelson at quarterback coming in from USC. This is someone that Boise State fans should be excited about. Guys like this don't come to Boise, historically speaking. It didn't work out from USC. He gets a new home in Boise, and those fans should be thrilled. And on top of that, you still have Ashton Jeanty, who's one of the best running backs in the country when it's all said and done. Easily the best running back in Mountain West, and gives you just another option to work with if you are Boise State. Defense is going to be very similar. Your D-line's top 3. The trenches are working well. You have Ahmed Hassanine on your D end there, 12.5 sack guy in the past. That's huge. Herbert Gums is there. Jaden Virgin Morgan is there. So even Braxton Felly has had his moments. So the D-line is going to be fine. No concern on that front. It does get progressively weaker as you go back, but it's still going to be top 5 in any position group. The linebacker duo of Andrew Simpson and Marco Notarani is going to consist of 2 of the best linebackers in the conference when we have everything, all things considered, right? So I'm not worried about this linebacker group. They're going to take care of business. They're going to get it done. And they're just going to complement everything that both the secondary and the D-line are doing to get this done. So speaking of the secondary, you have Alexander Tubner, you have Rodney Robinson, C.I. Oladipo, Marion McCoy. There's all these guys coming back for additional years. They're all seniors. Everyone back there. This is a very experienced Boise State team. So all of these seniors are coming back for one last ride, and I think it's a top 5 group in the conference as a whole. So, no one in the DB room, as far as I'm concerned, is a problem. No one on the defense, as far as I'm concerned, is a problem. It makes it hard to take a breakout player when everyone has done so much for this team already. But we have to pick one. So, offensive side of the ball, we're going to go with Malachi Nelson, transferring in from USC. So I've talked about 3 stars. I've talked about 4 stars. I have not talked about 5 stars. How often do they make them, make them in Boise, Idaho? They don't come there. So he's one of the top quarterback recruits in the class of 2023. Got a little antsy after his freshman year, and was out over to Boise now. I guess lost out to Miller Moss. I think they were trying to get Will Howard at USC at one point. So Malachi Nelson finds a new home and is ready to make the most of it for Boise State. And I think they should be very excited with the product they have. I'm looking forward to watching him play, watching him kind of elevate that group of 5 team. And if Boise State's one of those playoff teams, what does that look like for them? As a result of that, what does that look like over the course of the season to get them there? It's going to roll out. It's going to be great quarterback play that gets them to their conference championship game and beyond. So I'm taking Malachi Nelson as your breakout player on offense, and on defense, we'll go with Markel Reed. So your cornerback. So promising play over the course of last year. 2 passes defended against San Jose State, 4 tackle performance against UCF. Again, if you can do it against San Jose State, you can do it against Utah State. You can do it against, San Diego State. You can do it against Fresno State. So because that's going to be a matchup. So 2 passes defended. So is able to play in that secondary and play aggressively. Is able to get up and make tackles when needed. That's the type of thing you want to see with your cornerbacks. It's the type of play that is going to get Reed and the secondary noticed by the rest of this conference, by the group of 5, and potentially the playoff committee when it's all said and done. So I'm looking at Reed on defense and combine that with Nelson on offense for a Boise State team that is going to be in the hunt for this conference championship as well as that final playoff spot. So with that takes us to our final standing review. And again, some of these are interchangeable, right? Like some of these, I look at them and you're like, I have so-and-so in this position. Do you have them here? We can, some of these are ties. Like some of these are interchangeable, and I'll tell you which ones there are in a little bit. So I have Nevada in 12th and New Mexico in 11th. I think those are interchangeable. If you want to put Nevada in 11th, New Mexico in 12th, so be it. These next 3 are interchangeable: Wyoming, Utah State, Hawaii. So that's 10, 9, 8. All of those are interchangeable in my eyes. UNLV, I have firmly in 7th. They're the only one I have. I think they're right in the middle of the pack right now. Colorado State, San Jose State, to me, are interchangeable. Air Force is going to be on the outside looking in at 4. San Diego State as well. And then Boise and Fresno are interchangeable 1, 2. I don't think they lose a conference game transparently, so they avoid each other. So with that, we're going to go to our championship game prediction of Boise State versus Fresno State. Which one of them ends up taking it all this year? Do we get a defending champ repeating themselves in Mountain West, or do we get a spoiler coming in to make the most of their scenario and their situation, and again maybe grabbing that last playoff spot? So, with that, my official championship prediction pick for Mountain West will be Boise State wins again, back-to-back champs up there. I think it's a much better team than last year's team, and they got it done. Boise State is only trending upward. They have the right coach in place. They have depth in all the right positions. They have a promising new quarterback that if he lives up to an ounce of his expectations, Boise State's going to run through everyone this year. So I think Boise is due for a great one, and time will tell with just where it shakes out in the top 25 and beyond. So that is my official prediction for Mountain West. What do you think is going to happen? Where did I go wrong? Comment below, like, subscribe, everything along those lines. Thanks for tuning in. The next video will be about the Sun Belt. It's going to be that preview and prediction video. We are so close to the start of the season. We are 10 days away. There's a lot of content coming out in the next week and a half. So stay tuned, stay tight. But thank you all for your time. Thanks for watching. And we're looking forward to enjoying the season with you all soon.